I arrived at my son's house without warning on Christmas and found my grandson shivering in the street at 5 degrees in a t-shirt and shorts. Inside the house, the whole family, eating at the festive table. I kicked the door open and said 3 words. Their faces went white. Before continuing, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments what time it is where you are right now. Grandpa, please, don't go in. It's going to get worse. My grandson Sam's hands were shaking so much he could barely speak. His lips were purple at 5 degrees, standing there in shorts and a t-shirt, as if it were a summer noon in Miami. How long have you been out here, son? I asked while taking off my heavy winter coat and wrapping it around his shoulders. The boy was frozen solid. Since 5:30, he stuttered, and I watched his teeth chatter. Chloe told me I couldn't come inside until she said so. It was 7 in the evening. 2 hours. 2 hours. My 18-year-old grandson had been out there, while inside he listened to laughter, Christmas music, and the smell of hot apple cider slipping out from under the door. Unbelievable. I had driven 60 miles from Kingston with a truck full of glazed ham I baked myself, my famous stuffing that came out perfect, and gifts for everyone. I wanted to surprise them for Christmas. The surprise was on me. And your dad? I asked, even though I already knew the answer. My son Jason, the construction manager pulling in a solid 12 grand a month, was in there, warm eating. Sam looked down. He's inside with Chloe and the kids. Of course he was. My son, who once promised he would always take care of his boy, was now letting his wife treat him worse than a stray dog. And what did you do that was so terrible they left you out here to freeze? The kid shrank back, as if expecting me to scold him too. I forgot to turn off the oven. The prime rib burned, he whispered. Chloe said I ruined Christmas, that I deserved to think about what I did. I just looked at him. My grandson, the same kid who 6 months ago, when I saw him in July, looked skinny and sad, but swore to me everything was fine. It's just college stress, Grandpa, he had told me. And I, like an absolute fool, believed him. Now I understood why he never answered my calls, why he always said he was busy when I asked if he wanted to come up to Kingston on the weekends. It's one thing to ground a kid, I said, feeling my blood start to boil. It's a very different thing to let him freeze to death on Christmas Eve. I looked at the house, my house, even if they didn't know it. Colored lights in every window, a glowing reindeer on the lawn, the front door with a beautiful wreath. Everything perfect on the outside, and inside my son celebrating while his own flesh and blood turned to ice 5 feet from the door. Grandpa, really, you should just go. Sam pulled at my sleeve. If you go in, there's going to be trouble. She gets very. Very what, son? He didn't answer. He didn't have to. For 35 years, I've worked with wood in my shop. I've learned there are noble woods and cheap woods. The noble ones, even if you carve them, sand them, cut them, they always keep their core strength. The cheap ones splinter at the first sign of pressure. My son Jason turned out to be cheap wood. But Sam was solid oak, and they were trying to splinter him. Come on, you're coming inside with me, I told him. Grandpa, no. Get inside, I said. I walked toward the door. Sam followed behind me, dragging his bare feet on the freezing concrete. That set me off even more. Barefoot in December, in this godforsaken cold that upstate New York hadn't seen in 20 years. I put my hand on the doorknob. It wasn't locked. Of course not. Why would it be? The whole point of the punishment was for Sam to watch the celebration from the outside, to smell the food, to hear the laughter. What kind of twisted sickness was that? I took a deep breath. 64 years of life have taught me to control myself, to think before I act, to measure my words. But man, in that moment, the only thing I wanted to measure was how far my daughter-in-law would fly if I kicked her out into the street. I kicked the door open with my foot. It swung wide, and there it was, the perfect American Holy Family, wealthy Scarsdale edition. Jason at the head of the table in the light blue dress shirt I gave him last year. Chloe to his right, wearing a red dress that easily cost $500. The 2 little kids, 5 and 3 years old, in their flawless little Christmas outfits. The table loaded with food, glazed ham, sweet potato casserole, green beans, steaming apple cider in a glass pitcher, a massive pile of fresh dinner rolls, a whole pie in the center, the Christmas tree in the corner, drowning in gifts wrapped in shiny paper, the TV on in the background playing some classic holiday movie. A perfect suburban Christmas postcard, except it was missing one family member. The one standing behind me, violently shivering. They all turned to look at me. Jason with a forkful of food halfway to his mouth, Chloe with her wine glass suspended in the air, the kids with gravy smeared on their cheeks. The silence was so heavy I could have cut it with my handsaw. Then I spoke three clear words, as cold as the weather outside. You're all insane. Chloe's face shifted in a split second, from surprise to fear and from fear to sheer calculation. I watched her eyes dart around, processing, planning her next move. The woman was quick. I'll give her that. Frank, she gasped, setting down her glass and standing up from her chair. What a surprise. We didn't know you were coming. If you had let us know, we would have prepared. Prepared what? I cut her off, without moving from the doorway. Another place at the table, or a winter coat for the boy you've been freezing outside for 2 hours. Her smile literally froze, as if someone had hit pause on a movie. Jason dropped his fork onto his plate. Dad, what are you doing here? I came to celebrate Christmas with my family, I said, pointing behind me without turning around. And I find my grandson outside in shorts at 5 degrees. Are you going to explain this to me? Or do you expect me to guess what the hell is going on in this house? Chloe regained her composure instantly. The woman could have won an Oscar. Oh, Frank, it's just that Sam, she started, using that sweet, syrupy voice she definitely used at PTA meetings. He forgot to turn off the oven and the prime rib burned. It was $100 worth of meat. I told him to step outside to think about how irresponsible he was. To think, I repeated, at 5 degrees. Well, I didn't know it was going to be that cold, she said, waving her hand as if swatting away a fly. Besides, you know how teenagers are these days. They exaggerate everything. I'm sure he wasn't even that cold. I turned to look at Sam. The poor kid was standing in the doorway, still drowning in my coat, violently shivering. His lips were still purple. Come here, son, I told him. Sam stepped inside slowly, as if expecting the floor to explode beneath his feet. Show your dad your hands. The boy held out his hands. They were raw red, almost purple at the fingertips. They were shaking uncontrollably. Jason went pale. Sam, I didn't know that. Of course you knew. I cut him off. You were sitting right here. You knew perfectly well your son was outside. Or are you going to tell me you forgot he exists? Chloe stepped in, her voice hardening. With all due respect, Frank, this is our family and our way of raising Sam. You have no right to come barge in and judge us in our own house. There she was, the real Chloe. The one Sam had tried to tell me about 6 months ago, while I was too busy assuming my son had a spine. Your house, you say, I repeated slowly. Chloe lifted her chin. That's right, our house. A smile crept onto my face, not a happy one. One of those smiles you get when you hold a loaded secret and you're just waiting for the perfect second to pull the trigger. Interesting, I said. Very interesting. Jason looked at me nervously. He knew. The coward knew exactly why I was smiling like that. Dad, look. We can talk about this calmly. Calmly. My voice ticked up a notch. Calmly. Your son has been in the freezing December cold for 2 hours because he burned a piece of meat, and you ask me for calm. The little kids started to cry. Chloe pulled them tight against her, glaring at me like I was the monster. See what you're doing, Frank? You're scaring the children with your yelling. I took a deep breath. I counted to 5. Noble wood doesn't splinter at the first sign of pressure, I reminded myself. Sam, I said, never taking my eyes off Chloe, go to your room and pack what you need. Clothes, your school stuff, everything important. What? Chloe shot up. What do you mean pack? He's not going anywhere. Yes, he is. He's leaving with me. You can't do that, she shrieked. He's a minor. That's kidnapping. I looked at Sam. How old are you, son? 18, Grandpa, he answered quietly. 18, I repeated for Chloe. A legal adult. He can go wherever the hell he wants. And if you prefer, we can call the cops right now. We can explain the situation. I'll show them the photos I just took of him outside, time and temperature stamped. Let's see who ends up in handcuffs. Chloe opened her mouth, closed it, and opened it again. Jason, are you going to let your father speak to me like this? My son stared at his plate. The coward couldn't even look me in the eye. Dad, maybe you're overreacting. Overreacting. I laughed, but there was absolutely nothing funny about the sound. 6 months ago, your son called me crying. He told me Chloe wouldn't let him eat at the table with you, that she fed him scraps, that she made him sleep in the basement. And I, like an absolute fool, believed you when you said it was all a misunderstanding, that Sam was just being dramatic, that Chloe loved him like her own. I looked down at the table. The little kids' plates were full. There was an empty space next to Jason, but the plate was flipped upside down. They hadn't even set a place for Sam. You know what else I see? I kept going. I see you didn't even set a plate for him. On Christmas Eve, Sam's plate isn't even on the table. Jason finally looked at me. His eyes were red. Dad, you shut your mouth, Jason. You sit there dead silent while your wife treats your son like garbage. You eat your warm dinner while he freezes outside. I stopped myself. I could have kept going. I had 50 more things to say to my son, but Sam was still standing there shaking, and every second that ticked by was another second of his suffering. Go on, son, I told Sam. Go get your things. We're leaving in 5 minutes. Sam practically bolted for the stairs. Chloe took a step toward me. If you take that boy, I'm calling the police. I'll tell them you kidnapped him, that you broke in and took him by force. Call them, I said, dead calm. Dial the number right now. I'll wait. She didn't dial. She knew she was cornered, but she wasn't going to fold that easily. This is our house, she repeated. We decide what happens here. And if you interfere with our family, you're going to regret it. There it was again, our house. Actually, no, I said. It's not your house. It's not even Jason's house. Jason squeezed his eyes shut. He knew the hammer was dropping. What? Chloe scowled. What are you talking about? Ask your husband. Ask him whose house this really is. Ask him what he signed 10 years ago when I let him borrow it. Chloe's face was absolute poetry. Confusion, then realization, then sheer panic. Jason, her voice went dangerously quiet. Jason, what is he talking about? My son didn't answer. I heard footsteps on the stairs. Sam was coming down with a duffel bag over his shoulder. I'm ready, Grandpa. Perfect. Let's go. I walked toward the door. Sam followed me. Wait, Chloe screamed. You can't just leave. I stopped at the threshold and turned around. Merry Christmas, Chloe. Have a beautiful night in your house, I said, hitting the word your like a sledgehammer. Enjoy it while you can. We walked out. I shut the door behind us. In the truck, with the heater already blasting, Sam finally let himself cry. I'm sorry, Grandpa, he sobbed. I ruined your Christmas. You didn't ruin anything, kiddo, I told him, putting the truck in drive. You gave me the best Christmas gift I could ever ask for. What's that? The truth, and the chance to make things right. While I drove back to Kingston, Sam told me everything. 2 years of pure hell. 2 years of Chloe treating him like a servant, like a burden, like the inconvenient reminder of Jason's first fridge. She gave me less food than the little kids, he told me. She said I didn't deserve the good stuff because I wasn't her real blood. She made me clean the whole house while she watched TV. If I complained, she told Dad I was disrespectful. And Dad always believed her. Every single word was another nail in the coffin of my patience. And why didn't you tell me sooner? I tried, Grandpa. In July, remember? But you said Dad probably knew what he was doing, that I should respect his marriage. I had said that. What an absolute idiot I was. Forgive me, son. I didn't listen when I should have. It's not your fault. Yes, it is, but it will never happen again, I promise you. We pulled into Kingston around 10 at night. My house was dark and cold, but it was mine. No one had done me the favor of letting me use it. I ran a hot bath for Sam. While he was in the tub, I pulled out my phone. I dialed a number I had saved for years. Richard, it's Frank Miller. Yeah, I know it's Christmas Eve. I'll pay double your hourly rate. I need you to tell me something about that document we signed 10 years ago. The property use agreement for the house in Scarsdale. How fast can I revoke it? The answer made me smile. Very fast. It turned out to be very fast. I hung up just as Sam came out of the bathroom, wrapped in a robe that was way too big for him. Are you hungry, son? Starving. Perfect. Let's heat up the ham I brought and make some hot cider the way my mom taught me. That night, in my small but warm kitchen, Sam and I had a real Christmas dinner. No yelling, no punishments, no lies. Just a grandfather and his grandson sharing a meal and planning exactly how he was going to get his home and his dignity back. Because Chloe was right about one thing. That house was important. Too bad it was never hers. The next 3 days were revealing. Sam slept in the guest room, the one that used to be Jason's when he was a kid. Every morning I saw him come downstairs, still carrying that scared look of someone who expects it all to be a dream, waiting to wake up back in hell, but he wasn't. He was here with me, safe. December 26th, while I was making coffee, my phone rang. Unknown number from Westchester, I answered. Mr. Miller, a cold, professional woman's voice said, I am Monica Sterling, attorney at law. I represent Chloe Miller. My client wants to reach an agreement regarding Sam's living situation. Agreement. What a beautiful word. What kind of agreement? Sam can return home to his parents. We forget what happened. No police, no trouble. My client acknowledges that perhaps the punishment was excessive. Excessive. I laughed. She left a kid outside for 2 hours in the freezing cold. That's not excessive, counselor. That's dangerous. These are internal family matters, Mr. Miller. Chloe is willing to press no charges for the unlawful taking of a minor. Sam is 18, I cut her off. He's a legal adult. There is no unlawful taking of anything. He decided to leave with me. Dead silence on the other end. I understand. Her voice grew harder, but I warn you, my client has resources. She can make this very complicated for you. Perfect. Let her. I'm 64 years old, counselor. I don't get scared by empty threats anymore. I hung up. Sam was standing in the kitchen doorway, pale. Grandpa, I don't want to cause you trouble. You aren't causing me anything, kiddo. The trouble is being caused by your psycho stepmother. I poured him a cup of coffee. How did you sleep? Fine, he said, but his red eyes told a different story. I dreamed that I was back in the house, that Chloe was screaming at me for waking up late. 64 years of living have taught me a lot of things. One of them is that psychological damage takes a hell of a lot longer to heal than physical damage. You know what? I told him. Today we're going to the shop. I'm going to teach you how to cut a dovetail joint. It's complicated, but it's beautiful when you get it right. For the first time in days, Sam smiled, a small, fragile smile, but a real one. That afternoon in my woodshop on Main Street, while I was showing him how to work a piece of solid walnut, my phone rang again. This time it was Jason. Dad, his voice sounded exhausted. We need to talk. Speak. Chloe is losing her mind. She says you're going to ruin the family, that Sam made her look bad in front of you. What? And what do you say, Jason? Silence. Dad, it's complicated. No, son, it's not complicated. It's very simple. Your wife left your kid in the freezing cold for 2 hours, and that seems fine to you? No, but what? But what, Jason? I felt the heat rising in my chest again. But she has a point. But the kid deserved it. But what? You don't understand the pressure I'm under. Chloe is threatening to leave, to take the kids, to then let her leave. I said it so calmly that I even surprised myself. What? Let her leave. If she threatens you, if she manipulates you, if she makes you choose between her and your own son, let her pack her bags, Jason. You don't need her. Dad, that's real easy for you to say. Easy. The piece of wood I was carving almost slipped out of my hands. Easy. When your mom died, you were 12 years old. You think it was easy raising you alone, running the business, playing mom and dad at the same time? But I did it because you were my responsibility. Just like Sam is yours. He's not a minor anymore. Oh, how beautiful. I let out a bitter laugh. He turns 18 and suddenly he's not your problem, right? Well, let me tell you, fatherhood doesn't have an expiration date, kid. When a child is born, it's forever. Sam pretended to focus on his block of wood, but I know he was listening to every single word. Dad, give me time. I'm going to talk to Chloe. We're going to. You aren't going to do a damn thing, I cut him off. Sam is staying here with me until that house is a safe place for him. And if it never is, then he stays here forever. You can't decide that. Of course I can. I'm his grandfather and he's of legal age. He can live wherever he wants, and he chose to live here. I hung up before he could respond. Sam looked at me. Thank you, Grandpa. Don't thank me, son. This is just getting started. That night, after eating some homemade chicken noodle soup, I lay awake thinking. Not just about Sam, about everything. About the 2 years Chloe had spent abusing him. About Jason, who chose comfort over protecting his own flesh and blood. About how I, like an idiot, had believed Jason could handle his own house. I grabbed my phone and dialed the number for my lawyer, Richard Davis. I hired him 5 years ago for some business paperwork at the shop. Good man, serious. Doesn't beat around the bush, he answered on the third ring. Frank, it's almost 11 at night. I know, Richard, I'm sorry for the hour, but I need to talk to you. It's urgent. Did something happen with the shop? No, with my family. Can you see me tomorrow? I'll pay double if I have to. It's Christmas, I know, but... Frank, his voice softened. Come by tomorrow at 10. Don't worry about the fee. Let me hear what you need first. I told him everything. The cold. Sam shivering. Chloe calmly eating dinner while the boy turned to ice. The call from her lawyer. The threats. When I finished, Richard let out a low whistle. That's abuse, clear as day. Can we do anything legally? Frank, what you're describing is more than enough for a report to Child Protective Services. They would investigate, and I don't just want to report her, I interrupted. I want Sam to be safe. I want to make sure she can never hurt him again. I understand. Look, Come in tomorrow. There are things I need to review in your file, documents we might be able to use too. Richard, I took a deep breath. Do you remember that lease agreement we signed 10 years ago? The one for the house in Scarsdale? There was a pause, yes. The revocable trust lease granting free use of the property to your sons. Jason, how hard would it be to revoke it? Another, longer silence. Frank, are you sure? That's your son's house. Your grandchildren live there. My grandson Sam lived there too, and they almost froze him to death. How hard would it be? In theory, not hard at all. The contract has a termination clause for breach of family obligations. You specifically asked for it when we drafted it, remember? I remembered perfectly. 10 years ago, when I let Jason move into that house, I gave him one condition. Take care of your family, I told him. Treat them right, because if you don't, this house comes back to me. I never thought I'd actually have to use it. How much time would we need? To serve them notice, 30 days according to the contract. To execute the eviction if they don't leave voluntarily, another 30, maybe 45. 2 months total, 2 months. And Chloe would be on the street. Get everything ready, Richard. I'll see you tomorrow at 10. When I hung up, Sam was standing in the doorway of my room. Grandpa, are you going to take their house away? No, son, I'm going to take my house back. There's a big difference. But the kids, my half-brother and sister, it's not their fault, that boy. After everything they put him through, he was still thinking about others. The kids will be fine. Your dad has a good job. He can afford another place. But you need to know that you are safe, and that the people who hurt you are going to pay the price. He looked at me with those big eyes of his, so much like his mother's. Are you mad at me, Grandpa? Mad? I stood up from the bed. Son, I am mad at everyone except you. Mad at myself for not seeing it sooner. Mad at your dad for not defending you. Furious at that snake Chloe for treating you like garbage. But at you, Sam, I could never be mad. I hugged him and the boy just broke. He cried like he hadn't cried in years, I'm sure of it. All the pain, all the fear, all the humiliation pouring out in tears. And I held him, the way I should have done 2 years ago when this whole nightmare started. On December 27th at exactly 10 o'clock, I was knocking on the door of Richard Davis's office, 8th floor of a commercial building in downtown Albany. One of those old but respectable offices, with dark wood furniture and framed degrees on the walls. Richard greeted me with a coffee and a serious look. Frank, I read the contract last night. Everything is in order. We can proceed with the revocation of the lease. He spread some papers on the desk. Here is the original document, signed and notarized 10 years ago. Clause 7. The tenant agrees to maintain a healthy and respectful family environment with all household members. In the event of a proven breach of this obligation, the owner may revoke this contract with a 30-day notice. And can the breach be proven? The photos you took on Christmas Eve are a solid start, but we need more. Would Sam be willing to give a formal statement? I thought about my grandson, about what it would cost him to relive all of that. If it's necessary, yes. All right, then here's what we're going to do. Richard pulled out a legal pad. First, on Monday, December 30th, we are going to file a formal complaint with CPS. They are the authority on abuse cases. And what does that mean? Interviews with Sam, with you, and eventually with Jason and Chloe. A social worker will investigate the case. It could take 2 to 4 weeks, and in the meantime, Richard leaned back in his chair. I will draft the eviction notice. We'll send it out on January 5th, right after the holidays. That gives them exactly 30 days to vacate, until February 4th. February 4th, a little over a month. How much is all of this going to cost? The CPS report is free. Serving the eviction notice, about $1,500 between filing fees and the notary. If we have to go to trial for the actual eviction, then we're talking maybe $15,000. Less than I made in a good quarter at the shop. Money well spent if it meant protecting Sam. Move forward with everything. Perfect. I need Sam to come in tomorrow to take his statement. Can you bring him by at 11? We'll be here. When I walked out of the building, the midday sun was bright despite the freezing cold. I walked to my truck, thinking about everything that was coming. Chloe was going to lose her mind when she got that notice. Jason was going to beg. He might even show up with the little kids, crying crocodile tears to soften me up. But no, I had already made my decision. That afternoon, back in Kingston, I found Sam in the shop. He had finished his first dovetail joint. It wasn't perfect, but it was surprisingly good for a first attempt. Look, Grandpa, he showed it to me. Proud. How did it come out? Very good, son. You've got hands for this. He blushed a little. I always wanted to learn, but at the house, well, Chloe said it was a waste of time, that I should be studying. Studying is fine, but knowing how to work with your hands makes you independent. And independence, kid, is the most valuable thing you can ever have. That night, while we ate some steaks I threw on the grill, I explained to Sam what was going to happen. Tomorrow we're going to see Mr. Davis. He's going to take your statement about everything that happened with Chloe. Sam stopped eating. Do I have to tell him everything? Only what you can handle, son. Nobody is going to force you to do anything. It's just, his voice cracked. It's hard to talk about it. It makes it feel real all over again. I know, but it's necessary so she can never do the same thing to anyone else. He nodded slowly. Okay, I'll do it. On December 28th, I took Sam to Richard's office. The lawyer was kind, patient. It took him almost 2 hours to write everything down. Every insult, every exaggerated punishment, every time Chloe had made him feel less than human. When we walked out, Sam was pale, but he looked lighter. It's done. Kiddo, I told him. You took the first step, and now what? Now we wait, and in the meantime we live. I'm taking you to get the best burger in town. What do you say? For the first time in a long time, I saw Sam genuinely laugh. On December 30th, Richard filed the formal complaint with CPS. 2 days later, a social worker called to schedule an interview with Sam for January 8th. Everything was in motion. January 1st, New Year's Day, Jason called. Dad, Happy New Year. Same to you. How is Sam? Good. Eating 3 meals a day, sleeping in a warm bed without looking over his shoulder. He's doing very well. A heavy sigh on the other end. Dad, I really regret how things turned out. I do, but Chloe is devastated. She cries every single day. She says Sam made her look like a monster. How interesting. She was the victim. Now, Jason, have you ever stopped to think that maybe she actually is a monster? It was a punishment, Dad. Kids need discipline. Kids need love, I interrupted. Boundaries, yes. Discipline, sure, but not cruelty. What she did was cruelty. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. I understand that you chose your wife over your son, and now you are going to pay the consequences. What does that mean? You'll find out very soon. I hung up. Sam was in the living room watching TV. Was that Dad? Yes. Did you tell him about CPS? No, he's going to find out all on his own. On January 5th, while Sam was opening the presents I bought him, new clothes, a backpack for college, his own set of woodworking tools, Richard sent the eviction notice via certified mail. At 6:43 p.m., my phone blew up with calls. Jason, Chloe, even Chloe's lawyer. I didn't answer a single one. At 7:15 p.m., Chloe sent me a text. You can't do this. The house is ours. We are going to fight this to the bitter end, I replied calmly. The house is in my name. It always has been. You have 30 days. At 8 p.m., Jason showed up at my door in Kingston. Alone, no Chloe. I let him in. He looked destroyed. Bloodshot eyes, wrinkled clothes. Dad, please withdraw that notice. Chloe is hysterical. She says we're going to end up on the street. You have 30 days to find something, I said, keeping my cool. With what Jason makes, you can afford a nice apartment. You aren't going to be on the street. But the kids are used to that house, to that neighborhood, to their school. And Sam was used to having a family that didn't torture him. But nobody cared about that. He slumped into the armchair. Dad, I'm begging you, give me a chance. I'm going to talk to Chloe. We'll go to therapy. We'll change. 10 years, Jason. I sat down across from him. I gave you 10 years of chances. 10 years of seeing the red flags and pretending I didn't. It's over. And if I promise you that Sam can come back, that things will be different, Sam is never going back to that house. Not as long as Chloe lives there. Not ever. He stayed quiet for a long time. You're going to destroy her, he finally said. No, son. She destroyed herself. I'm just collecting the bill. He left shortly after, completely defeated. That night, lying in bed, I stared at the ceiling and smiled. In 30 days, Chloe would learn that actions have consequences, and that this 64-year-old man still had sharp teeth. On January 8th, right on schedule, a social worker from CPS arrived at my house in Kingston to interview Sam. Her name was Sarah Jenkins, a woman in her 40s with a kind face, but eyes that didn't miss a thing. Sam was a wreck. He had been up since 6 in the morning, even though the appointment was at 10. I found him in the kitchen drinking his third cup of coffee. Take it easy, kid, I told him. You're just going to tell the truth. It's just, what if they don't believe me? What if they think I'm exaggerating? The photos don't lie, the facts don't lie, and neither do you, Ms. Jenkins arrived right on time. She set up her recorder on the dining room table, pulled out some forms, and started with the easy questions. Name, age, where he went to school. Then the questions got harder. How long have you been living with your stepmother, Chloe? 2.5 years, Sam answered quietly. And how would you describe your relationship with her? Sam went dead silent. I watched his hands grip his knees. Difficult, he finally said, very difficult. For the next 2 hours, Sam laid it all out. Every insult, every extreme punishment, every time Chloe had made him feel like he didn't deserve to breathe the air in her house. Ms. Jenkins took notes, without interrupting. When he got to Christmas Eve, Sam broke down. It was so cold, he said, his voice shaking. My feet hurt, my hands hurt. I couldn't stop shivering. And I could hear them inside, laughing, eating, like I didn't even exist. How long were you outside? Almost 2 hours. From 5:30 until my grandpa got there around 7. Ms. Jenkins turned to look at me. Mr. Miller, do you have the photographs you mentioned in your initial statement? I showed her the photos on my phone. Sam shivering on the porch. The timestamp, 7:03 p.m. The temperature, 5 degrees. His purple lips. Ms. Jenkins made a face that told me everything I needed to know. This is serious, she said. Very serious. What happens now? Sam asked. I will submit my report to the state. They will review it and forward it to the district attorney's office. It's highly likely a formal criminal investigation will be opened against Chloe Miller for child abuse. Sam looked relieved and terrified all at once. After Ms. Jenkins left, Sam sat on the back porch staring out at my yard. Did I do the right thing, Grandpa? What do you think? I don't know. I feel like I betrayed the family. I sat down next to him. Son, you didn't betray anyone. Chloe betrayed the trust she was given when she married your dad. She betrayed her duty as a stepmother. And worst of all, she made your dad betray his duty as a father. But the kids, my half-brother and sister, what's going to happen to them? They're going to be fine. They're young, they'll adapt. And your dad is going to have to decide if he wants to keep being a puppet or if he wants to be a real father. On January 15th, I got a text from Richard, short and to the point. Frank CPS forwarded the case to the DA. Chloe will be called in for questioning on January 28th. Brace yourself. This is going to get ugly. Ugly. What a small word for what was about to come. On the evening of January 27th, I was in my shop working on a walnut table when I heard tires crunch on the gravel in my driveway. It was 8 at night. I looked out the window. A local police cruiser. How interesting. I walked out of the shop, wiping my hands on a rag. 2 officers stepped out of the cruiser. The older one, a guy in his 40s with a stern face, had sergeant stripes. The other was younger, maybe 30. And stepping out from behind them, wearing high heels and a look of absolute triumph, was Chloe. Jason stayed in the car, head down, a coward to the bitter end. Frank Miller? The sergeant asked. That's me. I'm Sergeant Reynolds, Kingston PD. This woman, he pointed at Chloe, is filing a formal complaint for kidnapping. Chloe stepped forward with that venomous smile I knew so well. You took my son without my consent. That's kidnapping, Frank, and you're going to pay for it. The sergeant looked at me, waiting for my response. Kidnapping, I said calmly. Sam is 18 years old. He's a legal adult. There is no kidnapping here. That's a lie, Chloe shrieked. He's 17. He's a minor, Sam, I called toward the house. Come out here, please. My grandson stepped out, pale but standing tall. Officers, he told them, I am 18 years old. I turned 18 last October. Here is my ID. He handed his driver's license to the cops. Chloe's face was an absolute masterpiece. From triumph to confusion, from confusion to sheer panic. But you, she stammered. 18 years old, ma'am, Sergeant Reynolds confirmed. A legal adult, free to live wherever he chooses. Then it's undue influence. Chloe switched tactics on a dime. This man brainwashed Sam against me, filled his head with lies. Sergeant, I said, can I show you something? Go ahead. I pulled out my phone and showed him the photos from Christmas Eve. Sam violently shivering in the cold, the timestamp, the temperature. Sergeant Reynolds looked at the photos. His partner looked too. I watched their expressions shift. Ma'am, the sergeant said, turning back to Chloe. Did you leave this young man outside in these conditions? It was a punishment. Chloe was losing her grip. He ruined Christmas dinner. He burned the prime rib. At 5 degrees, the sergeant's tone had dropped to absolute zero. In shorts and a t-shirt, it wasn't 5 degrees. It was 50 max, and he was only out there for like an hour. 2 hours, I corrected, and it was 5 degrees. I have the weather data from that night if you'd like to see it. Sam took a step forward. He was shaking, but his voice came out steady. Sergeant, what my grandpa says is true. All of it, and if you want to know more, call CPS. They have a full file on everything she's done to me for the last 2 years. Chloe turned sheet white. You, she pointed a trembling finger at me. You convinced him. You manipulated him against me. I just pulled him out of the freezing cold, I said calmly. The rest was all you, Chloe. Sergeant Reynolds turned toward the cruiser. Mr. Miller, he called out to Jason, can you step out for a minute? My son got out of the car like he was walking to the gallows. Is it true that young Sam was locked outside on the night of December 24th? Jason looked at me, looked at Chloe, looked at the ground. Yes, he whispered. In the conditions your father described? Yes, and you allowed it. Jason shrank. It was a punishment. Chloe said it was necessary, that the boy needed to learn. Mr. Miller, Sergeant Reynolds cut him off, and his voice had an edge that could cut glass. Leaving a young man exposed to freezing temperatures is not a punishment. It is a threat to his life, and under New York state law, it constitutes domestic abuse. Chloe exploded. This is ridiculous. It's a conspiracy. Everyone is against me. This old man, Sam, and now you cops. Ma'am, calm down. The sergeant raised a hand. Nobody's against anybody, but these are serious facts. Facts? She laughed hysterically. Doctored photos. Lies from an ungrateful brat. The state and the DA will decide that, the sergeant said. In the meantime, Mrs. Miller, I'm informing you that you will have to present yourself for questioning to the proper authorities. You will receive a formal summons in the coming days. Chloe's face went from red to white in 3 seconds flat. What? No, wait. Have a good night, Frank. The sergeant shook my hand. Sorry for the disturbance. Sam, take care of yourself. They drove off. Chloe got back into her car, screaming threats. Jason followed her in dead silence. When they disappeared down the road, Sam dropped onto the porch steps. I can't believe she drove all the way up here for that. Believe it, I said, and this is just getting started. At 11 that night, my phone rang. Westchester number, I answered. This isn't over. It was Chloe, screaming hysterically. Good evening, Chloe. Don't you say good evening to me like nothing happened? You are going to ruin me. You are going to destroy me. I am not destroying you, I said, with all the calm in the world. You are doing that all by yourself. I'm going to take everything from you. The house, Sam, everything. I have lawyers. I have money. Really? That's great. You're going to need them. When I'm done with you, you'll wish you never crossed me. I hung up. I didn't have time for her tantrums. On January 5th, exactly as I had planned with Richard, the notice was sent. Certified mail, return receipt requested, to the address on Elm Street, Scarsdale, New York. The envelope contained a 3-page document. Letterhead from the law offices of Richard Davis, stamped by a notary public. All legal, all official, all irrevocable. Notice of termination of property use agreement. Richard called me at 6:43 p.m. Frank, they just signed for the delivery. Both Jason and Chloe. Perfect. They're going to lose their minds. Let them. I didn't have to wait long. At 7:15 p.m., my phone exploded. 5 calls from Jason. 3 from Chloe. 2 from a number I didn't recognize. I ignored them all. Then came Chloe's text message. You can't do this. The house is ours. We are going to fight this to the bitter end, I replied. The house is in my name. It always has been. You have 30 days. 30 seconds later, another call. This time I answered. How dare you? It was Chloe, and she sounded like her soul was being ripped out. That house is mine. I've lived there for 3 years, living for free on my property, I corrected. There's a difference. Jason is the owner. He signed papers. Jason signed a use agreement. A free loan. I am the sole and exclusive owner. You can check the county deed registry if you don't believe me. I heard a muffled sound like someone hyperventilating. No, you can't. Jason, she screamed, pulling the phone away from her mouth. Tell your father this is a lie. I heard Jason muttering something. I couldn't make out the words. What? Chloe's voice went up 3 octaves. What do you mean it's true? The phone dropped. I heard screaming, things breaking, more screaming. I hung up and poured myself a glass of water. This was going to be a long night. At 8 p.m., Jason showed up at my door, alone. Bloodshot eyes, wrinkled clothes, smelling like cheap whiskey. I let him in. He collapsed onto my sofa like a rag doll. Dad, please, what? Withdraw the notice, please. Chloe is out of control. She says we're going to end up on the street. With your salary, you can rent a very nice apartment, I said. You aren't going to be on the street. But the kids, Sophie and Matt, they are used to that house, to that neighborhood, to their school. And Sam was used to having a family that didn't torture him. Jason buried his face in his hands. Dad, I'm begging you. One last chance. I'm going to talk to Chloe. I'm going to put my foot down. Things are going to change. How many times have I heard that, Jason? How many? This time is different. No. I sat down across from him. It's not different. I gave you that house for 10 years. 10 years where you should have used it to build a real family. And instead, you let your wife turn your son into a servant. I didn't know it was that bad. You didn't know. I stood up, Jason. Sam told you. He told me. We all saw it. You chose not to see it. It's just that Chloe. She's complicated. If I cross her. If you cross her, what? She'll leave you? Good riddance. You'll be better off without her. He stayed quiet for a long time, and if I promise you that Sam can come back, that he'll have his room, his things, that we'll treat him right. Sam is never going back to that house. Not while Chloe lives there, not ever. Then what do you want me to do? I want you to be a father. I want you to protect your son. I want you to have the guts to stand up to your wife when she does something evil. But apparently, that's asking too much. Jason left around 9:30, defeated, broken. I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. The next day, January 6th, I got a call from an unknown number. I answered. Frank Miller? Speaking. This is Michael Sterling, attorney at law. I represent Chloe Miller. My client would like to discuss the notice she received yesterday. There is nothing to discuss. The document is clear. Well, you see, my client believes the use agreement has irregularities. What kind of irregularities? We would have to review that in more detail. But my client is willing to reach a settlement, perhaps an extension of the deadline, or 30 days, not 1 day more. Mr. Miller, be reasonable. I am being very reasonable. Reasonable would have been throwing them out the exact same night they left my grandson out in the freezing cold. I'm giving them 30 days. It's more than they deserve. My client is willing to compensate you financially. I don't want her money. I want my house. Then I'm afraid we will have to challenge the legal validity of the contract. Be my guest. The contract was signed and notarized 10 years ago. It's filed with the county clerk. It is completely legal and ironclad, but go ahead. Waste your client's money on billable hours. It's not going to change a thing. He hung up without saying goodbye. 3 days later, Richard called me. Frank, Chloe's lawyer asked to review the original contract, and he reviewed it. He sat in my office for 2 hours reading every line, every clause. At the end, he told me, it's airtight, there's nothing we can do. What did he tell Chloe? According to my secretary, he called her and told her the contract is completely valid, that they have zero legal standing, that her best move is to find another place to live before the deadline hits, and she screamed that he was incompetent and hung up on him. I laughed. I couldn't help it, Frank. Richard's voice turned serious. Brace yourself. Chloe is going to strike back, and when people feel cornered, they get dangerous. Better strike, I said. I already made my move. Now I just wait. I expected a fight. A war. What I didn't expect was how fast Chloe was going to start unraveling. Because on January 10th, Sam got a voice message from his little half-sister, Sophie. The 5-year-old had swiped Jason's phone without permission. Sammy, why don't you live here anymore? Mommy Chloe cries all day and Daddy is really sad. Did we do something bad? Sam showed me the message with tears in his eyes. It's not fair to them. Grandpa? No, son, it's not fair, but what they did to you wasn't fair either. But they're kids, and they are going to be fine. Your dad is going to take care of them, and if Chloe truly loves them, she'll find a way to be a mother. But that doesn't mean you have to go back to that hell. That night, while we ate pancakes and bacon that I whipped up myself, Sam asked me, do you think Dad will ever forgive me? Forgive you for what, son? For ruining his marriage. I set my fork down. Sam, look at me. You didn't ruin anything. Chloe ruined her own marriage with her cruelty. Your dad ruined it with his cowardice. But you just survived. And you don't need forgiveness for that. He wiped his tears with the back of his hand. Thanks, Grandpa. You're welcome, kid. Now eat. Pancakes are better when they're hot. The clock kept ticking. 27 days until eviction, and Chloe still hadn't seen the worst of it. On January 12th, 3 days after Chloe's lawyer confirmed there was nothing to be done about the lease, Jason called me. Dad, I need to talk to you. Speak. Not over the phone. Can I drive up to Kingston tomorrow? He arrived the next day at 11 in the morning. He wore a face I hadn't seen on him in years, exhausted, defeated, old. We sat on my back porch with coffee. Sam was out in the shop, sanding a table he was building. Chloe blames me for everything, Jason said without any build-up. She says you never mentioned the lease to her, that I lied to her about the house. And did you lie to her? He stayed quiet. I told her it was our house. Technically it was. Well, I lived there. She lived there. But legally it was always mine. Yes. And why didn't you tell her the truth? Jason rubbed his face with his hands. Why? Because she wouldn't have married me. Chloe wanted stability, a house of her own, security. If I had told her we were living on borrowed time, borrowed. I repeated the word. What an interesting word. Because when you borrow something, you're supposed to take care of it, right? You're supposed to respect it. But you two, I know, Dad, I know. He took a sip of coffee with shaking hands. Chloe wants me to talk to you, to convince you to pull the notice. She says if I don't do it, she's going to leave me. And what do you say? He looked at me with tired eyes. That I already tried that on January 5th, remember? And you told me no. So I came up here to tell you that it's okay. That I understand that after what we did to Sam, we deserve this. That I didn't expect. What did Chloe say when you told her that? That I'm a coward. That I'm useless. That I've always been weak. That his voice cracked. If I don't fix this, she's going to make sure I lose the kids too. She can't do that. She can try. And knowing Chloe, she will. We sat in silence for a while, listening to the sound of Sam sanding wood in the shop. You know what the worst part is, Dad? Jason finally said. That you were right. You were always right. Sam told me. You told me. Even my friends hinted at it, but I was so terrified of ending up alone that I chose to believe Chloe's lies, Jason. No, let me finish. He wiped his eyes. I am a bad father, a bad son, and a terrible husband. But I need to fix this, even if it's too late. It is never too late to do the right thing, even if it costs me my marriage, especially if it costs you your marriage. On January 15th, Chloe and Jason were summoned to the CPS offices in Westchester. I went with Sam and Richard. The social worker handling the case was Amanda Hayes, a serious woman in her 50s with a face that said she didn't get fooled easily. Sam went in first. They interviewed him for 2 hours. When he came out, he looked drained but relieved. How did it go, kiddo? Good. They asked me a lot of questions about everything. Then it was Chloe's turn. I saw her walk in wearing her best disguise. Conservative dress, natural makeup, perfect hair, the devoted wife, the concerned mother. She walked out 45 minutes later, not looking quite so put together. Finally, they called us all in together. Miss Hayes looked at us one by one before speaking. Mrs. Miller, she addressed Chloe. Is it true that on December 24th, you locked Sam outside your house for approximately 2 hours in 5-degree weather? It was a punishment, Chloe replied, her voice tightly controlled. The boy burned Christmas dinner. He needed to learn responsibility. And did you consider the weather conditions before issuing this punishment? It wasn't as cold as they say. 50 degrees max. And he was only out there for about an hour. Miss Hayes pulled out a file. I have the meteorological report from that evening right here. 5 degrees Fahrenheit at 7 p.m. And according to Mr. Miller's statement, Sam was outside starting at 5:30. Chloe tightened her lips. The boy exaggerates. He's always been dramatic. Dramatic. The social worker raised an eyebrow. Frank Miller provided time-stamped photographs showing Sam violently shivering with purple lips. That's also an exaggeration. Those photos could be doctored, Mrs. Miller. The social worker's voice hardened. I strongly suggest you drop the baseless accusations. We are here to investigate a serious complaint of child abuse. Chloe switched tactics. The tears appeared like magic. You don't understand how hard it is. Sam never accepted me as a mother. He was always rebellious, talking back. I was just trying to create order in the house. By restricting his food? Ms. Hayes asked. Because according to his statement, you served him much smaller portions than you gave your other children. He eats more than the little kids. It was only logical that, ma'am, Sam is a growing 18-year-old boy. Your other children are 5 and 3. Of course he requires more food. Chloe went silent. And what about the household chores? Sam mentioned he was the only one doing them. The little kids can't clean. They're too small. But you didn't do them either, did you? Everything fell on Sam. The tension in the room thickened. Jason, who had been dead silent the entire time, finally spoke up. It's true, he said quietly. Everything Sam is saying is true. Chloe treated him differently. I knew it, and I didn't do anything. Chloe snapped her head toward him, eyes blazing. What are you saying? The truth. Jason looked her dead in the eye for the first time in a long time. I am telling the truth. Ms. Hayes took notes. Very well, Mr. Miller. Are you willing to testify under oath to what you just stated? Yes, Jason. Chloe practically screamed. Think about our children. I am thinking about all my children, he answered, including the one I abandoned to keep you happy. Chloe shot up from her chair. I am not staying here to listen to this. This is a farce. A conspiracy started by this old man, she pointed at me, to destroy my family. Sit down, Mrs. Miller, Ms. Hayes ordered. We are not finished here. Yes, we are. Chloe grabbed her purse. Get a lawyer if you want to speak to me again. She stormed out, slamming the door behind her. Miss Hayes sighed. Well, that certainly simplifies things. Frank, Jason, Sam, thank you very much for your cooperation. I will finalize my report and submit it to the district attorney. This definitely warrants a criminal investigation. How long will that take? I asked. 2 weeks, maximum. The DA has to review the case, but with the evidence we have, it's incredibly clear-cut. We walked out of the CPS offices around noon. Sam looked exhausted but lighter. Jason stood in the parking lot, looking lost. Dad, can I come visit you guys in Kingston? Not to ask for anything, just to try and fix what I broke. I looked at Sam. My grandson gave a tiny nod. We do Sunday barbecue, I said. Come next Sunday. Jason smiled, a sad smile but a real one. Thanks, Dad. On January 28th, I got a call from Richard. Frank, I have news. Tell me. The New York District Attorney's Office just opened a formal criminal investigation against Chloe Miller, endangering the welfare of a child and domestic abuse. And what does that mean? It means if she's convicted, she could face anywhere from 6 months to 5 years in prison. Or, more likely given the nature of the case, probation with mandatory counseling. What are the odds they convict her? With the photos, Sam's testimony, the CPS report, and now Jason's confession, I'd say 95%. I smiled. Perfect. There's something else, Richard said. Chloe tried to hire 3 different defense attorneys. All 3 turned the case down. Why? Because word gets around. In the Westchester legal community, everyone knows what she did. Nobody wants to defend a woman who left a kid out in the freezing cold. It's bad optics. It's morally indefensible. What a shame, I said, not feeling a single ounce of pity. That night over dinner, Sam asked me, Grandpa, do you think Chloe is going to jail? Honestly, kid, I don't know. But even if she doesn't, she already lost the thing she cared about most. The house? No, her reputation. In Scarsdale at her country club with her friends. Everyone knows she abused her stepson now. For someone like Chloe, that is worse than a prison cell. Sam looked thoughtful. Is it bad that I feel good about that? No, son, it's called justice. On February 4th, exactly 26 days after the eviction notice was served, Jason showed up at my door in Kingston. It wasn't Sunday. It wasn't time for barbecue. He had 2 suitcases and looked like he'd been crying for days. Dad, he said, can I stay here just for a few days until I find an apartment? What happened? I told Chloe I'm filing for divorce. I let him in. Sam came downstairs, saw his dad, and hugged him. It was the first time I'd seen them hug in years. Jason settled into the guest room. That night during dinner, he told us everything. I told her I was filing for divorce, that I was going for full custody of Sophie and Matt, that I had been a coward for way too long, but I was done, and she completely lost it. Screamed that I was betraying her, that we were a family. How dare I leave her right when her whole world was collapsing? I reminded her that it collapsed because of her, because of what she did to Sam. Jason looked at his son. Kid, I don't have the words to ask for your forgiveness. It was years of stop. Sam put a hand on his shoulder. What matters is that you're here now. You really forgive me? I'm working on it. It's not going to happen overnight. But yeah, eventually, I'm going to forgive you, Jason cried. This time, real tears. Not manipulation, not self-pity, pure relief. On February 12th, Jason filed for divorce in Westchester Family Court. Legal grounds. Abuse of a family member, Sam. He requested full physical and legal custody of the 2 minor children. Chloe finally managed to hire a lawyer. Not a top-tier one, but it must have drained whatever savings she had left. She tried to fight back. She claimed Jason was abandoning her, that he was an unfit father, that the kids needed their mother. But the judge reviewed the file. He saw the active criminal investigation. He read the CPS report. He heard Sam's sworn testimony. On February 18th, the judge issued a temporary order. Jason was granted exclusive occupancy of the Scarsdale house with the children until the divorce was finalized. Chloe had to vacate immediately. Richard's call came at 4 p.m. that day. Frank, I have some very interesting news. The judge ordered Chloe out of the house today. Today. She has until 8 p.m. to pack her personal belongings and leave. Jason is allowed to stay until the divorce is settled, roughly 60 days. After that, it's up to you if you want to extend the use agreement or not. Let me talk to him. That night, I called Jason's son. Richard told me, "How are you holding up?" Weird. The kids are confused. Sophie keeps asking why mommy Chloe has to leave. I don't know what to tell her. Tell her the truth. Adjusted for her age, but the truth. And what if I have to leave after the divorce is finalized? You don't have to leave. You can stay in the house until you figure things out. Or, well, there's plenty of room up here in Kingston if you all want to come up. Really? Really, you're my son, Jason. And even though I lost all respect for you for a while, you are still my son. I heard his voice crack. Thanks, Dad. Chloe left that night to live with her mother, a cramped apartment in Yonkers, 3 bedrooms for her, her mom, and her 2 brothers who still lived there. Her Scarsdale empire had burned to the ground. March 1st was the initial hearing for the criminal case. I didn't go, Richard did. He texted me updates every hour. 10:15 a.m. Chloe arrived with her lawyer. She looks terrible. 11:30 a.m. The D presented the evidence, the photos, the CPS report, everything. 12:45 p.m. Chloe's lawyer tried to argue it was a momentary lapse in judgment. The judge wasn't buying it. 2 p.m. Sam testified, strong and clear. Chloe couldn't even look him in the eye. 3:30 p.m. Jason testified too. Confirmed everything. Chloe glared daggers at him. 4 p.m. Recess until March 20th for sentencing. That night, Sam was quiet during dinner. What's on your mind, kiddo? Chloe. How she looked in court today, from what Mr. Davis told me, and I don't know if pity is the right word, but I feel something. She lost everything. Her house, her husband, maybe her freedom soon. And what did you lose because of her? Sam thought about it. 2 years of my life, my relationship with my dad, my trust, my safety. Exactly. She chose to treat you like dirt. She chose abuse over compassion. Now she's paying the toll. I know, and I don't feel bad about that. It's just weird seeing someone fall that hard. It's weird because you have a good heart, kid. But don't confuse having a good heart with letting people walk all over you. It's one thing to forgive. It's a very different thing to forget. During those weeks, something shifted in the house. Jason started driving up every weekend with Sophie and Matt. The kids ran around the yard, played in the shop under strict supervision, ate the pancakes I made. Sam taught them things: how to sand wood, how to play checkers, how to twist wire into little animals. Slowly, something was forming that we hadn't had in years. A real family, not a perfect one. Jason's and Sam still had a lot of rebuilding to do. The little kids were still adjusting to not having their mom around during the week. And I had to learn how to live in a loud, full house again. But it was real, no masks, no lies. On March 15th, Jason called me, practically vibrating with excitement. Dad, I got a job up there in Albany.
Really?
Yeah, upstate construction. They're offering me a solid salary. It's a pay cut from Westchester, but it's enough. And what does that mean? It means if the offer still stands, I'd like to move up to Kingston with the kids, be close to you and Sam. The offer always stood, son. Is there something else? His voice turned serious. The divorce is going to be finalized on April 15th. The judge granted me full custody of Sophie and Matt. Chloe gets 1 weekend a month. Supervised visitation. How do you feel about that? Relieved, terrified, hopeful, all at once. That's called being a real father. On March 18th, 3 days before the final sentencing, Richard called me with a proposal. Frank, Chloe's lawyer wants to cut a deal. A deal for what? Chloe is willing to accept a plea bargain. 3 years of probation, mandatory weekly psychological counseling, a restraining order, and financial restitution to Sam. In exchange, they want us to drop the push for jail time. How much in restitution? $10,000. And what does Sam think? He says he just wants it to be over. He doesn't want to see Chloe in a jail cell. He just wants her out of his life for good. Then tell the lawyer we accept, but with one added condition. Chloe is legally prohibited from coming within 100 yards of Sam for the next 5 years. Done. On March 20th, the judge ratified the agreement. Chloe Miller was sentenced to 3 years of probation, mandatory counseling once a week, A restraining order, prohibited from coming within 100 yards of Sam Miller for 5 years. $10,000 in restitution to Sam for emotional damages. Absolute prohibition of direct contact with Sam unless he authorizes it in writing. She walked out of the courthouse, pale, gaunt, shattered. Her lawyer walked her to her car. We walked out the other set of doors. It's over, Sam said. It's really over. Yes, son, I put my hand on his shoulder. It's over. That night, back in Kingston, I made a massive Sunday barbecue. Brisket, ribs, the works. Jason came up with the kids, Sam set the table, and for the first time in a very long time, we had a real family dinner. No lies, no masks. No Chloe, just us. An imperfect, bruised, but deeply real family. And after everything, that was the only thing that mattered. The days after March 20th felt strange. Like after a massive storm, when the sky finally clears up. Sam kept coming up every weekend from college. Now that Jason had custody of Sophie and Matt, the three kids arrived together. My house, which had been way too quiet for years, was suddenly bursting with laughter. On March 25th, while Sam and I were out in the shop sanding a table we were building together, my phone rang. Richard. Frank, good news. Chloe just made her first restitution payment, $3,000. Really? Really? Apparently, she got a job working the register at a Target. I couldn't help but smile. Chloe, who always bragged about never having to lower herself to a regular job, was now scanning groceries. And the rest of the money? She has 2 years to pay off the remaining $7,000. If she misses a payment, we can garnish her wages. Sam listened in silence, sanding his block of wood. You okay, kiddo? Yeah. It's just weird thinking she's paying for what she did to me. She's not paying for what she did to you. Nobody can ever pay for that. She's paying the consequences of her actions. It's a very different thing. On April 10th, Jason arrived in Kingston with news. Dad, I signed the contract. I start Monday at Upstate Construction. Taking the pay cut, right? Yeah. It's less than I made down in the city, but I'm going to be close to you guys. To you and Sam. The kids are going to grow up with their grandfather and their big brother. I hugged him, and for the first time in years, the hug felt genuine. And the house in Scarsdale? Richard told me I can stay until May 15th. After that, it's up to you. What do you want to do? Jason thought about it. I want to sell my truck. With that, I can put together a down payment for an apartment up here in Kingston. Something modest, close to your place. The kids need their own space, and I need to prove to myself I can provide for them on my own. And in the meantime, if you let me stay here with you, just until I find something, I'll pay you rent. I'll help with the bills. You aren't paying me rent. I cut him off. You're my son, but you are going to help pay for groceries, help clean this place, and take care of your kids. Understood? Understood. On April 15th, exactly 4 months after Chloe was evicted, Jason officially moved out of the Scarsdale house. I sold it 2 weeks later, $850,000. A solid price for the Westchester market. I did 3 things with that money. First, I put away a chunk for my retirement and future expenses. Second, I set aside a college fund for Sam to cover his tuition at SUNY, his books, whatever he needed. Third, I gave Jason a loan for the down payment on a house in Kingston. 0 interest, but with a legally binding contract. He needed to learn how to handle money responsibly. The rest went into savings and a family emergency fund. On April 20th, Sam came to me with news I wasn't expecting. Grandpa, my therapist says I'm making really good progress. Yeah, she says that trauma doesn't vanish overnight. But I'm learning how to process it, how not to let it define who I am. That's incredible, son. And she asked me if I'd ever want to talk to Chloe again. You know, for closure. My blood ran cold. And what did you tell her? That maybe someday, when I'm ready. But not right now. Right now, I need distance. I need to build my life without her in it. I think that's very wise of you. Sam smiled. I learned it from you, Grandpa. On May 1st, Jason and the kids officially moved into my house. Temporarily, until their new place was ready in June. The house filled with life, in a way I had never experienced. Sophie and Matt running through the yard. Sam teaching them how to build things with scrap wood. Jason cooking dinner on the weekends. One night, while we were eating steaks, Jason threw on the grill. Sophie asked, Grandpa Frank, why don't we live with Mommy Chloe anymore? We all went dead silent. It was Sam who answered. Because sometimes, kiddo, families have to change so everyone can be happier. And right now, we're all a lot happier here, aren't we? Yeah, the little girl said. I like living here. Grandpa lets us play in the wood shop. With supervision, I clarified, and without touching the sharp tools. Yes, with supervision, Sophie repeated solemnly. Matt, the 3-year-old, just happily chewed his steak, completely oblivious to the complexity of the situation. On Mother's Day, Jason took the kids to see Chloe. Supervised visitation at a public park for 2 hours. They got back around 5 in the afternoon. How was it? I asked. Jason looked exhausted, rough. Chloe cried a lot. She told the kids I forced her out, that she always loved them. The kids are confused. And you? I realized something. It doesn't hurt to look at her anymore. I don't feel guilty, I just feel pity. Pity for what she could have been and wasn't. That's called closing a chapter, son. Yeah, I guess it is. That night, after putting the kids to bed, Jason and Sam stayed up in the living room talking. I was in the kitchen brewing coffee, but I could hear them. I'm sorry, Sam, Jason was saying. I know I've told you 1,000 times, but I need you to know that Dad, Sam cut him off. I already forgave you. Really, it's not easy to forget, and sometimes I still get mad. But I forgave you. Why? After everything I failed to do. Because now you are doing it, because you left Chloe, because you're raising Sophie and Matt, because you're here trying. That counts. I heard Jason quietly sob. I love you, son. I always loved you. I was a coward. I know, Dad, but you aren't anymore. I stayed in the kitchen a little longer, letting them have their moment. Sometimes healing doesn't happen all at once. It happens in quiet conversations, over shared cups of coffee, over Friday night steaks. On May 15th, a sunny Saturday, we were all out in the shop. Sam and I were working on the project we had started months ago. A beautiful, intricate wooden chessboard. It was stunning. Walnut, cedar, pine, oak. Every single square perfectly cut and polished. How long have we been working on this, kiddo? 4 months, Sam answered. Since January, and it's almost done. Yeah, just needs the final finish. We worked in silence for a while, sanding, polishing, perfecting, Grandpa, Sam said suddenly. Can I ask you something? Sure. Do you regret anything that happened? Kicking Chloe out. Forcing my dad to choose. I thought about it carefully before answering. I don't regret protecting you for a single second, but I do regret not doing it sooner. I regret taking so long to see what was happening right in front of me. Sam nodded. I regret not speaking up louder, taking it for so long because I didn't want to cause any trouble. We both learned, son, and now we're here. Yeah, here we are. We kept working, and the chessboard slowly but surely took its final form. Perfect, exactly the way it was supposed to be. May 2025. 5 months after that Christmas Eve that changed everything. I am sitting on the back porch of my house in Kingston, drinking coffee, watching my grandkids play in the yard. Sophie is chasing Matt with a stick she found, both of them screaming with laughter. Sam is out there with them, building something out of twigs and rocks. A little house, I think. Jason is inside making lunch. He makes a grilled cheese almost as good as mine. Almost. Grandpa Sophie calls out, Look what we made. It's a little house of twigs, crooked, fragile, but built with love. It's beautiful, sweetheart. Sam says when he grows up, he's going to build me a real house. Oh yeah? I look at my oldest grandson. If he studies architecture like he wants to, why not? Sam smiles. Matt comes running over and climbs onto my lap. Grandpa, tell me a story right now. But it's almost time to eat. A short story. All right, a short one. And right there on my porch, with my youngest grandson on my lap and the other two listening, I tell them a story. Not the story of what happened. They'll know that one when they're older. I tell them the story of a carpenter who built houses so beautiful that even the birds wanted to live in them. It's a story my father used to tell me, and now I tell it to my grandkids. The circle continues. Jason walks out with a platter of sandwiches. Lunch is ready. We eat out on the patio. Grilled cheese and tomato soup that I made this morning. The little kids eat with their hands, getting messy. Sam shows them how to hold the sandwich so the cheese doesn't fall out. Dad, Jason says, I found a house, 3 bedrooms, right down the road. The owner accepted my down payment. When do you move in? 2 weeks. I've almost got everything packed. And the kids are still going to come over all the time, if you want them to. Weekends, holidays, this is their home too. Of course I want them to. Sam doesn't say anything, but I see him smiling. After lunch, while Jason washes the dishes and the little kids watch cartoons, Sam and I go back to the shop. The chessboard is ready, completely finished. It came out perfect, Grandpa. It came out perfect, son, because we built it together. We carry it inside and set it on the dining room table, right where the light hits it perfectly. Jason walks out of the kitchen and sees it. It's incredible. You want to play a game? I ask Sam. You're on. We sit down and set up the pieces. They're wooden too. I carved them years ago. We move in silence. Sam is good. He learned fast. Check, he says after 15 minutes. Damn, kid. You got me. You taught me well. I think you're letting me win on purpose. But it doesn't matter. When the game is over, we carefully pack the pieces away. You know what, Grandpa? Sam says, I think this is the best gift I've ever gotten. Not the board. The time we spent making it. For me too, son. That night, after everyone goes to sleep, I sit out on the patio alone. I think about Chloe. About everything she lost. The house, the status, the family. Now she lives with her mother, works a register, and goes to court-mandated therapy once a week. I don't feel any cruel satisfaction, just justice. Actions have consequences. I think about Jason, about how he finally found the courage to be a father. It took him a while, yeah, but he got there. I think about Sam, about how he survived 2 years of pure hell and came out the other side. Damaged, sure, but not broken, never broken. And I think about myself, that 64-year-old man who decided enough was enough, who pulled his grandson out of the freezing cold, literally and figuratively, and gave him a home. My phone vibrates. A text from Richard. Frank just confirming. Chloe made her second payment on time, $500. Everything is in order, I reply. Thank you, counselor. I put the phone away. The stars are shining bright over Kingston. It's a clear, cool, perfect night. Tomorrow is Sunday. I'm going to fire up the smoker. Sam is going to drive down to the good bakery to get fresh rolls. Jason is going to help me prep the ribs. The kids are going to run wild in the yard. We are going to be a family. A real family. Not perfect. With scars and wounds that are still healing, but real. And after everything, that is the only thing that matters. I go back inside, turn off the lights, and head to my bedroom. On my nightstand is a framed photo Sam gave me a week ago. All of us in the woodshop. Him, Jason, the little kids, and me. All covered in sawdust, smiling, a family, my family, the family I rescued, the family I rebuilt, the family that, against all odds, made it through the fire. I lay down, and for the first time in years, I sleep deeply. No worries, no fears, no regrets. Because I did what I had to do. I protected who I had to protect, and I took back what was mine. Not the house, not the money, my family. And at the end of the day, that's worth more than anything else in the world. The shop is full of noise. The good kind of noise. Sam is cutting wood on the table saw. Jason is sanding a bench. The little kids are outside playing under the shade of the big oak tree. I'm at my workbench starting a new project. A solid cedar dresser for Jason's new house. My phone rings. Unknown number, I answer. Frank? It's a woman's voice. It takes me a second, but I recognize it, Chloe. What do you want? I wanted to thank you. Thank me? Yes. My therapist says I need to take accountability. And you were right about everything. What I did to Sam was cruel. Unforgivable. I stay dead silent. I don't expect you to forgive me. Not you and not Sam. I just wanted you to know that I'm working on being a better person so that when I see my kids, they don't see the monster I was. Good, I say simply. That's it? Good. What do you want me to say, Chloe? Congratulations? You did the bare minimum. You admitted what you did. Now you have to prove it with actions, not words. Silence. You're right. Thank you. For everything. For taking care of Sam when I refused to. She hangs up. Sam looks at me from his workbench. Was that her? Yeah, and nothing. She's in therapy. She says she's changing. Do you believe her? I don't care if I believe her or not. What matters is that you are okay. Here, with us. Sam smiles. Yeah, Grandpa, I'm okay. And it's true. He is okay. We are all okay. And that is the absolute best revenge of all. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts on this story in the comments. To hear the next story, click on the box on the left. Thanks for watching. Yeah.